Hey guys, want to welcome you back to Covenant Podcast. We're excited again today. I got two of my new bestest friends in here today. We actually, believe this or not, just became pretty close over the last few months. God's just been doing such a work in their life, and so I'm gonna let them tell you a little bit about themselves, and then I'm gonna kind of lead them into some questions in a minute. They both have notes on their laps, I think, because they're a little nervous, but we told them not to worry about it. We're gonna have a good time today, and it's just an exciting time in their lives, and it's a exciting time for me to watch it from my perspective and my viewpoint. And I'm just proud of you guys. So tell them a little bit about yourself, West Lincoln stuff, yeah.
My name is Destiny Hall. We did graduate from both of us from West Lincoln in 2020. We've been going to Covenant here for about a year and a half, and I currently work for Lincoln County Schools.
My name's Caleb Britton. I graduated, as she just said, from West Lincoln in 2020, and it's been a wild ride. And I work for City Gastonia. Let's see, we've been going here for a year and a half, and yeah, it's been crazy.
And it's a very busy week for them, by the way. We baptized them. Today's a Monday that we're actually taping this. We baptized them yesterday, and they're getting married Friday. And so, and if everything goes perfect, that's on Ryan, the guy behind the camera. If this thing gets released on Friday morning, it will be the day of their wedding, and we'll see how that works out. But I'm so proud of you guys, and the reason, and we'll kind of lead into it, but the reason they got baptized yesterday is because they've both just made this recommitment of their lives, and they wanted to start fresh before they got married, and just acknowledge that they've given their lives to the Lord, and it's a pretty amazing story, really. And I will tell a little bit about how our story together got started, and y'all will jump right in and dive and tell what exactly happened. It went like this. I'm gonna say how long ago was it when I preached this sermon? Where
It was March 13th.
March 13th. So
Yeah,
they
we
know
know the date.
They know exactly the date. On March 13th, I was just preaching. I'm preaching that series in Joshua, and I was probably in Joshua then, or right getting ready to start it. But I don't even really know why that particular day I decided to just kind of took off on a rabbit trail and I began to share a story about some people that, if you watch a lot of our videos, you know that there's this girl on our worship team named Valerie Cochran, and she's married to one of the most amazing guys I know by the name of Jeff. And Jeff and Valerie have an amazing story. When I met them, even though I didn't know this, I actually remember the day that Jeff gave his life to Jesus. We had this one of those wild game, like those you hunter people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I wasn't really at that thing, or I might have been there, but I wasn't because I hunt or anything. But that particular night, we had a speaker in from out of town, and Jeff gave his life to the Lord. On Sunday morning, he came up to the altar, and I prayed with him, and he was just acknowledging that he had made a decision for Jesus. And so that was really my first time I kind of knew who they were. I'd seen them here some, but we weren't nearly as close as we are now. And as Jeff and Valerie's story goes, they were actually living together at that moment, and I didn't know anything about that. I was just tickled to death that God had started working in their lives. And I remember that particular morning like it was yesterday. Jeff was knelt down at the altar, and Valerie was standing behind him just with her eyes closed, praying for him. And I thought, man, this is a special couple, and I can't wait to see what God does in their lives. At this point, a couple years later, Jeff's one of my deacons, and Valerie is on our praise team. Well, none of that was going on at the time. They had really been living this pretty out there. I don't want to get too much into their testimony, but they've been living out there in the world a little bit. And again, I didn't know, but they were living together. So after a few weeks of them coming to church after Jeff got saved and Valerie had recommitted her life to the Lord, they began to tell me, actually Valerie came by one day to talk to me. And in the middle of our conversation, she told me that they were living together and that they made a decision the morning that Jeff gave his life to Christ, that they would move into separate rooms. And as the story goes later on, and this is the story, by the way, that I'm sharing that Sunday morning, which I don't even know why I shared it, but I do now. But I'm sharing this story about how they kind of progressed into this other space a few months later where Valerie told Jeff she was moving out and moving down the street, and Jeff got tore up, came over here crying. Big old guy, played football in college, but he 6'6", big old man. I mean, a man's man. Came over here crying, and said, "What am I going to do?" I said, "Well, the best thing for you to do is go home and help her move out." And the reason that Valerie just said to me she needed to move out, even though she had moved down the hall the day that they gave their lives to the Lord, was that she said this to me. She said this sentence: we know we're not sleeping together anymore and dishonoring the Lord with our life, but our neighbors don't. And we want to be an example to everybody around us of what Jesus is doing in our lives." And so anyway, I shared that story that particular day. I'd seen you guys here before, knew kind of who you were, but something really, really special, even though I didn't know why I was sharing it and didn't know who I was sharing it for, something very, very special happened that morning in their lives. And I'll let them pick up the story from here. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go ahead. So when you was preaching that day, I stared at you, and I don't know why. And
you were staring at me.
It hit me. It hit me out of nowhere, and God just told me, I know what you're doing, and it's wrong.
Which
and
was
sleep together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we felt guilty several times. We felt attacked, like you say all the time. If you don't feel attacked,
Yeah.
and we felt really attacked. And
I mean, like there was many Sundays prior to this Sunday leading up, I'd walk out and I'd look at Caleb and be like, "Gosh, like Mike attacked us or Jesus attacked us today."
Y'all were taking it personal. I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah, and when you told Jeff and Val's story, I just started bawling, and I tried so hard to keep it under wrap, but I just couldn't control it, and I don't think I've said one word after that.
No.
And then we walked out to the car. We were planning on going to my grandpa's house to eat and pick up some groceries, and I told him, I said, "No, we're going straight home." I said,
Yeah.
And she didn't know why.
Yeah, I was scared to death. I was like, "Oh gosh, all four walls of this house is about to cave in. We're having to come to Jesus meet. This is scary."
So we get home. I walked straight in. I didn't say anything the whole entire way home. And I go in there. I know where the ring's at because I had done been planning on proposing to her.
Right. Did you know he had a ring already?
Kinda, not really, but I had.
You had an idea. Yeah.
And I went there and got it. And my sister, it was in her room. And she was laying on the bed, and she looked at me, and she said, "Caleb, what's wrong?" And I said, "Nothing." I grabbed it. I walked out. Mom and Destiny sitting there on the couch. And I go straight up to Destiny. I get down on one knee, and I said, "Will you marry me?" And she starts bawling. And
she said yes.
He had to ask twice.
No. She came up and hugged me, so I hugged her, and I whispered in her, I said, "So are you going to marry me?" She said, "Yeah." And, and then I said, "But there's a catch, I said, "No more sleeping together. None of that." I said, "It's time that, we do things right." And that opened up can of worms, if you want to say. I thought it was supposed to be a happy time, and she was bawling her eyes out like I just broke up with her.
She became the Jeff in y'all's story.
Yeah.
Like, she was terrified that you were just rejecting her.
Right.
Well, and I did. I just felt so betrayed and so alone. And, it was the enemy in me now because I know that. But, I was like, if Caleb loves me, like, how is this so easy for him to do? I didn't get it, and.
Yeah. But she actually, because she was in such a space of worry, I remember you texted me like that Monday morning, didn't you, or something? It was like,
yeah.
And you said, "We need to come talk to you." And I was like, heck yeah. So, well, by the time you got here, though, you had kind of got a revelation.
Yeah, I was good. Well, no, I would really struggle that Sunday when Caleb proposed. Caleb suggested me that night. He was leaving me, and and Caleb was like, "Destiny, maybe it'd just be good for you just to go by Covenant and just talk to Mike or something." And I was like, "Okay." So I called the church office Monday, and you're like, "I'm busy Monday and Tuesday," which I'm so thankful looking back on that you were busy because Wednesday we had already intended on me and him both coming and talking to you and telling you what happened. But that Monday it made me chase after the Lord. Like I went home and it was just me and Jesus, and he gave me the understanding of what Caleb was doing. Like I'd always prayed for a man like this, and it was like God was telling me, "Why are you mad, Destiny? I'm doing what you always prayed for in him."
Wow.
And I had a breakthrough and by myself that Monday, like it became easy for me too. And I remember sitting down that night and I was like, I just opened up my Bible and I was like, God's going to, allow me to read whatever he wants me to hear. And I read 2 Kings 19, and it was talking about Elijah obeying God and, being caught up in the presence of Jesus. And it, these lies that the enemy was telling me, it's like God was just reassuring me that what Caleb was doing was the right thing, and Caleb was just doing what God called him to do. So it became easy for me then, and it's been easy since.
Yeah. Well, by the time they got here on Wednesday night, first off, I did not know you were in a traumatic place. I would have figured out something on Monday or Tuesday, but I just thought
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and God was just in that, though.
Yeah.
Really, He was, because by the time they got to me on Wednesday night after church, they were both, their eyes were just lit up. And they could not wait to tell me the story about how God had just worked it all out in their hearts to honor Him, and that they were going to stay separate from each other, live in different spaces, and literally not have any physical contact with each other until their wedding night. And by then they were excited, that we're actually honoring God with this, and so I remember your eyes were like light bulbs. I mean, just like, guess what we're doing? You went from, he hates me, he's going to try to break up with me, even though you just asked you to marry him.
Well, yeah, I thought he was breaking up with me that day. It's what it felt like.
And that night, she wouldn't even talk to me that night when she went to bed. And that morning, she was like, "Hey, Caleb, how are you?"
Yeah.
I was like, "What happened to her?"
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward a little bit, and I felt like I caught him off guard on this one yesterday, and you can add to this story. But yesterday when I was getting ready to baptize him, I shared a story about, you sent me a picture a couple weeks ago, and you didn't know that she was doing this.
Right.
She was actually parked. Were you parked in your own driveway or something?
And he had pulled in behind me.
He pulled in, and he had worship music playing, and it was just an amazing thing where you didn't see her seeing you doing this, but she heard the music playing, and then you got out of your truck.
In my truck.
And you just fell on your knees before the Lord, and your hands were in the air, and she snapped a picture and sent it to me. And I don't remember all of the, I did go back and read the email yesterday, or the text yesterday, but the gist of it was that, look at this man that I'm going to get to marry. You went from this rejected state, because the enemy does that to you. He tries to trick you into thinking this is your rejection moment, when God's really wanting to bless every single thing about y'all moving forward. And it was like that moment where it was almost, you were getting to see that revelation come forth. You sent me that picture and you said, this is the man I get to marry. And it's just so unbelievable to me what basically one yes to Jesus can turn into.
Right.
Because y'all's one yes was, you started it, and what courage that took to do that, by the way, is amazing. But it's led to a whole string of things, heck, we baptized half their family yesterday. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, your sister got baptized yesterday. Your cousin got baptized. Your other cousin's been coming with you to church. Yep. I mean, every time I look back there, y'all got somebody new with you.
It's just, God's just amazing, and He just moves in unexplainable ways. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And going back on the picture, I texted Destiny today. I said, I thought about it today during work. I said, "Did you send that picture to Mike?"
Yeah, Caleb. Let me tell you again. Yes, I did.
Even though I kind of let it out of the bag yesterday, in the middle of you in the baptismal pool, I got a picture of you worshiping. You're like, and your face was like, I don't think he knew that yet. But then I thought I was in trouble for a second. But what we'll do, maybe we can get this picture. I'll send it to Ryan if that's with your permission.
Oh yeah.
I would love to put that picture on this podcast, because really, it's a picture of what one yes did. You know,
Right.
you're in the middle of your yard worshiping God, and you're excited that he's worshiping God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is when I get closer to God and I pray and pray and pray, I don't care who sees, you know.
Yeah.
It's just I want to let it all out. I can't contain it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes
just
easy.
sad.
And through all of this, Caleb has changed a lot as a person. You know, I told you on the text I sent you that day, like, Caleb loves me differently now, and I see that. And he loves and treats others differently around him
Yeah.
and stuff, you know.
So what
and-
does that look like? I mean, I know I'm getting in your business, but we are doing a podcast. What does that mean that he loves you differently? I mean,
he's more patient with me, and I think that he just shows the respect for me in just a different way. And through this
Yeah.
entire situation, I mean, for Caleb to do what he done,
Yeah.
I think shows that tremendously.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think that's very scriptural too. By the way, there's a scripture, and I can't think exactly where it is right off the bat, but it talks about taking something that doesn't belong to you and the effect that has on your life, and this is the part, you know. I know people expect preachers and Christians to to hound on the fornication, and don't have, we even got words that sound mean, like fornication,
Right.
just the protectiveness of God for why premarital sex is not a good thing. And the reason is because you actually violate each other. In fact, there's a scripture in Corinthians that says that every other sin that you commit is a sin outside your body, meaning that if I'm mean to you or I'm rude to you, it's me doing something over there. Or if I steal something, it's like me taking something from there and putting it here. But the sin of sexual sin is a sin against your own body. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you create almost a booby trap, for your own spiritual life. And thus when Caleb quit taking something that wasn't rightfully his yet, because the way it becomes rightfully his is to make a commitment, a covenant agreement with you,
right,
and with God. When we do your wedding Friday, it's not just going to be us three. It's going to be four of us.
right,
It's going to be me, and I'm the least important person there. But it's you, and it's you, and it's him. And I
Right.
tell people all the time, life's marriage is like a triangle. Like it's Caleb here, Destiny here, and Jesus here. And the closer you get to him, the closer you end up to each other.
right,
So the fact that you were taking something that literally wasn't spiritually yours was like thievery where God was concerned, and it violated your spiritual life, but it was violating hers as well. So like when you actually when you have premarital sex and you hadn't made that covenant agreement with God, you actually violate yourself and her, and so it creates, even though you don't know it, it don't matter how old you are when this happens either.
Right.
It could be any age, but you actually introducing into your spiritual journey. God created sex inside the boundaries of marriage to be this beautiful, amazing thing,
Right.
And when you try to go outside of the boundaries of God, see, people think the boundaries of God are like strenuous and bondage to some degree, but in reality, the protectiveness, the walls that God puts around us are for that's the most joy that you'll ever experience is honoring him inside those walls. But our rebellious heart would tell us he's just trying to keep you from fun. Kind of how Eve got tricked, remember?
Right.
The enemy tricked her and said, God's just if you eat of this fruit, you'll be like him. You'll know what he knows. And so he told her what not to do, but the enemy tricks us into thinking, oh, it's got to be better my way. It's got to be, I can be more like him if I do what I want to do, not what he wants me to do. And in reality, the most beautiful part of being his is to live inside those boundaries of his wonder, that it's protection and it's joy and it's fulfillment like you never had before. And so sex is a big part of that, because, God's design is beautiful and perfect.
Right.
And now that y'all decided to honor him like this, even though it was just March 13th till now, whatever. Man, can you imagine the heart of the Father toward y'all?
Right.
To make that kind of decision, because after you, let's be real, after you start having sex and stuff, it ain't easy to say, okay, we're done.
Right. It's not.
It's not, but it's not a choice of what my flesh wants to feel good about it right now. It's a choice of honoring my Father,
Right.
with a later payoff that's a gazillion times better than the present one, and that's what I'm most proud of you, because I know it wasn't easy to make this decision.
And that's just a further testimony of only our God can do that. There's no other God that can do that. And the world tricks us to believe different things, and they do a good job at it. You know, before you really know Jesus, you can be tricked by it. You know, but when you know Jesus, it's the truth and the Word, and you follow by it, and it comes to show.
Amen. Everything in our world pulls us in a direction of sex and glorification of the human body and all that stuff, and we don't need a whole lot of help to lust for the wrong things on earth. It's in our DNA, it's in our flesh DNA, and for you guys to honor the Lord like that, and there probably be other things that went into that besides the physical part of sex. The rejection thing that you felt probably stemmed from way more than sex with a guy that you're going to marry one of these days, but it probably was just rejection in general, insecurity.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know that God's been healing that in you?
I know it. I feel like he done it in like a day too.
He's been healing that insecurity in you guys, that you didn't need that this pure love that y'all found now, that God's going to bless and honor after you're married with sex is just the tip of the iceberg for what God's about to do in your lives, because you said one yes.
Right.
Yeah. So
we're excited, and I think our testimony just shows that God can fix messed up people and messed up situations and use it for his glory.
Absolutely. What else you got on your notes? I know there's more things on there.
I think that I think I've learned through it that, it's just important to trust to Jesus and cling to him. I think that's what I was doing at the beginning, that I think God's shown me now, is I was clinging so much to Caleb and not really realizing that I needed him too, and as much as Caleb loves me, Jesus loves me even more.
Amen.
So just trusting him and clinging to him, and not always Caleb.
That's right. Well, I mean, when you start finding the identity that God intended for you to find, that your identity doesn't need to be lost in how, what Caleb thinks all the time about you, or what Destiny always thinks about you. Right. Your identity is found in the one who created you. Is utterly amazing, and when y'all released each other from that, really, because the sex part and the that was the real bondage.
Right.
When y'all released each other from that, how incredible it was and freeing it was to begin to find your identity in Christ.
Right. It just makes you feel different. It's just you can't even. There's not a word for it. It makes you feel holy. We all fall short of the glory of God, but it just makes you feel like that. I'm doing what God wanted me to do on this earth.
Yeah. That's right.
And that's what I told Caleb today. We were talking about things leading up to the podcast today, and I told Caleb, I said, we're humans. We're not going to be perfect, but we can strive to honor God now with what we're doing and stuff. And we are human, and we all are going to fall short of the glory of God.
But now you can, though. Now you can, because you can't. You won't find many things more difficult than that decision y'all made. I promise you won't. But now that you did that in that scenario, now you know that you can. And the goal of your life, both of you, I see it now, is to fall more and more in love with Jesus on a daily basis. And what you're finding out is that from that you're falling more in love with each other.
Right.
And God's plan is perfect,
And you preached on it a couple weeks ago too about just praying every day, just praying, and it just draws you closer to Him.
Amen.
And you don't really realize it. You know, you just think, when you don't really know God, that well, I know He's real and He's above all.
Yeah.
But when you really get the relationship, it's on a different level.
Yeah, it is. And I think, I was thinking about this today, like what do we really want to communicate? I love telling y'all story because I think it communicates a gazillion things to a gazillion people. But what do we really want? Because I know that, the world tells us to living by standards that God created as weak and old-fashioned and out of date. And I know there are going to be somebody watching this that, even though they may not want to say it even out loud, they may be drawn to this and wonder, why am I watching this today? What is it? Why in the whole scheme of life did I end up sitting down watching this today? And they may be 20 years old or 30 years old or however old they are that are involved in a relationship that's where they're having sex outside of marriage. And I don't want them to just like dismiss this as some kind of old-fashioned, out-of-date news. I want them to know that this is like now. It's just God is present now. And so I guess with all of that, I wanted to say, what if you could have a 5-minute conversation with some other young couple that's debating what y'all debated? What would you tell them and why? Obviously the whole podcast has been about that, but why? What would you tell them if you could sit down with them for 5 minutes and say, just honor the Lord, watch what happens? Why would you tell them that? I mean,
you want to go ahead? Just what God can do. I mean, He can release you from and break through a lot of things if you just trust Him. And like you said a minute ago, just say one yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't even explain it. I can't. You got to experience it for yourself.
Right.
True.
I
mean, I just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, that's right, because you can't explain all the good of it. What would you?
You really is just, really what she said, trust in Him. And you think and you think you feel good, but you're really not. You need to trust in Him and seek Him. Once you seek His face, all things work out. And you think you're in the right spot, but you're really not.
Right.
If you open up the Bible and you pray, He'll tell you, you're not in the right spot.
Yeah.
And I think it engulfs in all walks of life, because you could be, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 and do the same thing. And, it only takes, God. Just pray to Him and just ask for forgiveness and tell Him what you did wrong, and He makes all things better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I had, I'm just honest, and my family already knows this, so it's not like in the church probably could gather it, but some of my greatest failures in life involved my teenage, younger 20 years, before I got married, and doing a lot of things that dishonored the Lord, and how I wish if I could start over in my lifetime and go back. The one sin, I mean, there's gazillion sins I wish I hadn't have committed in my life.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but the one sin that I wish I could, and I've talked to the Lord about this. If there's one sin I could go back and have a do-over on, it would be sexual sin, because it's I think it's a trap, and I think it can chase you your whole life. And I think what y'all really did was release yourself from it chasing you your whole life, because of your obedience in the moment to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I will honor the Lord with this. And you really risk it when you do that, right? I mean, there was a risk she was going to say, okay, thanks, I feel rejected by. And
that's what I thought was going to happen, because, the way she was acting, she didn't want to talk to me, and I thought, oh, wow, I made a mistake, and then,
But thank God for Monday.
Thank God for Monday. Yeah.
Thank God for Monday.
Yeah, and we were sitting in the kitchen with Caleb's dad one afternoon, and I just want to bring this up. Caleb's dad asked Caleb and I both if we had the entire situation to do over again, if we would have, had it play out the way it did, or done things right. And the right answer is yes, absolutely. I wish we would have done it right, you know. But I'm also very thankful, and in a sense now, I mean, I regret what we were doing, but in a sense I don't now, because Caleb's the man he is now because of the situation, and we're where we're at now because of the situation. I thank God used that situation to draw us closer to him.
Yeah. The Bible does say that God works all things together for good, even our failures. And that sounds crazy that he could do such a thing, but that's who God is. He always takes messes and turns them into messages, And, somebody told me one time that he'll turn all of our tests into testimonies if we let him. And this was your test.
Right.
And it's become your testimony. It's in a lot of ways, it's how I know you,
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have right words, because I feel like a father figure to y'all. I mean, I really do. I love y'all so much. But we, in a short period of time, from March now, in 2.5 months or 2 months and 1 week, whatever, we've gotten so close. I just feel so connected to y'all, and I don't know that I have words to tell you how very proud I am of you, and the witness that you're being. There are people watching you, and they're going to continue to, that you don't even know are watching you right now. And so stay faithful to this walk, because I tell people this all the time. Every one of us are leading somebody somewhere.
Right.
And y'all are too, Heck, you're going to be you're in a school every day.
Yeah.
Imagine that, that the kids that you're going to get to teach, you get to be their example in every walk of life.
Right.
And they may not watch podcasts. Little kids at the elementary school probably don't know a whole lot about sex before marriage,
Right.
But the integrity of your walk in your life ministers to other people, even when you don't know it is. And so, man, I'm proud of y'all.
Thank you, Mike.
So much. And I can't wait to do your wedding Friday. I really can't. 4 more days.
4 more.
4 more days. 4 more days. And you made it. So anyway, if you have one final thing to tell everybody, we're kind of closing it down. Unless there's some more stuff on your notes.
I've covered it all.
Okay. How about you? You got anything on your notes?
I just had a half a page, so 3 pages.
If you have one final encouragement, doesn't have to be about y'all or sex or marriage or anything. Just if you have one thing you could say to people that are listening, what would it be?
It don't matter how old you are, how young you are, God or don't, you think you know God, ask him if you really know him.
Yeah.
And ask him, what do you want me to do for you?
Yeah.
To serve him.
Yeah.
Ask, how can I serve you?
Yeah.
And honor you. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Amen.
No, I just want people to know, like I said a little bit ago, God can fix messed up people and messed up situations no matter what. And we are a living testimony of that, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are.
Y'all really are that. And again, thank y'all so much for your courage to tell your story. The first week after they told me their story, I told their story, a little bit of it in church, and they were like, tell everybody you want to tell, because we want to honor God with our lives.
Yep.
And so it's one thing to make that decision privately, but to allow God to use your lives publicly has been you've ministered to more people than you know already.
That's awesome.
And the people close to you, I'm watching them. They're running after what you're running after now, because you ran after it first. That one yes. And I will tell you, people that are listening, it only takes one yes to get it started. Yeah. And after that one yes, the second yes comes easier. and you keep stacking yeses together with God, and before you know it, you're a million miles down the road in Him, walking out an intimate relationship with the God who created the whole universe. I mean, the God that created you in your mother's wombs, wants to have a relationship with you, and it's working. And all you guys out there that are listening, I'm telling you right now, if you never made that decision, make it. Just say yeah. Just one yes can lead to a whole lifetime of change. And these two people are examples of that. And I can't wait to see what y'all become together, because it's going to be amazing.
We're
Amen?
excited.
Amen.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank y'all for coming by, and thank you guys for tuning in with us again today. And as always, thank Big Ryan behind the cameras. He always makes this work together, and we just thank God that we get to do stuff like this. It's humbling. But it's such a blessing. Every time we get to do another podcast, it's a blessing for us too. So thank you for continuing to tune in, and we will see you next time.